What's up everybody, I'm Gio with Carvalho Creations and welcome back to Christmas time. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I created these giant prop candles to add a little bit more character to your Christmas decor. Now in our last couple of videos, we've been focusing a lot on these character-driven tutorials. So today I wanted to break it down a little bit and make it a little bit easier for you. And this is a project you can definitely get done in one weekend and it's super easy and inexpensive. So why don't you put on some Christmas music, get in that holiday spirit, because we're about to go wild. What's up everybody? All right, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make giant candles for your Christmas display. Now, essentially what we're doing here is just an enlarged version of this here. If you guys have probably seen this before, just an old toilet paper roll or something like that, and then use hot glue to create the dripping wax on a candle. But what we're going to be using today, just to go over the material list a little bit, you could use a concrete form that you can get at your local hardware store, or if you want to do a little bit of research, I went to an industrial area around my house, and there's paper companies that get rid of these all the time. So you might save yourself some money. You want to go ahead and grab a couple of these from your local industrial area or your paper goods store. You might be able to get a couple of these if you're lucky. We're going to be using great stuff here. Now, I've never actually had the pleasure of using great stuff, so this is going to be really new for me, but I wanted to start with an easy project just to get the feel for it, and I think this is going to be perfect. So we'll be using this to create the dripping wax you see around the candles here. And then I'm going to be using just some scrap wood to set my light source. And my light source is going to be one of these flame lights. I don't know if you guys ever seen this before, but I'll show it to you later, a little bit later on in the video. It's essentially a little fan with some bulbs, some orange bulbs, and it blows these little pieces of material up. You see that? And that's going to sit down in my candle to give it that glow effect. And then we'll go back and do some detail paint with some airbrush and add some decor to it to make it look really nice. But it's a pretty simple build. Anyone can do this. And I wanted to bring it to you guys so you had another project, Christmas project, to add to your decor. So let's go ahead and get started. To start this off, I can leave this just like this, and it's fine to do that if you want to just go ahead and leave this here and cut out this step. But I want to make this look like this candle's been melting. So what I'm going to do is just cut myself a little bit of a line. So I'll trace a line around here to create that angled look that you see here. So it looks like it's been a used candle, you know, just to give it a little more character. So just using a marker, and then I'll kind of freehand in a design. And I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to be melted a little bit. And we're going to go around and take my jigsaw and cut this out. But just to start with, I think this will be a nice beginning to the candle. All right, let me get my jigsaw out. What I'm going to be doing here is taking a scrap piece of lumber. This is just an old fence piece. What I'm going to do is line it up to the bottom of this, and then I'm going to trace in that curve on the inside. So I'm going to hold it in place, trace that curve in. Okay, so you can see that there, hopefully. And I'll just darken it maybe so you can see it a little bit better. But what this is going to allow me to do is to fit this piece in, and then I'll screw it in from the sides to give myself a base plate to hold my flame light on. I'll do that first before I do anything else. Okay, now that I have my scrap piece cut out and I have about the idea of the angle I want to go for, I'm going to go ahead and put this in. And my light here from top to bottom is about 4 inches. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure down 4 inches from the lowest point because I don't really want the flame light to be shown. So I'll measure down 4 inches from this point, and then I'll go ahead and just put a little couple holes here so I can set my piece of wood in there. I'm gonna pre-drill the holes first, and I'll do one over here. Okay, there's the piece of wood. I'm going to pre-drill now that I have the 2 holes on this side fixed. Pre-drill on the other side. I'll be able to set my light right inside there. Just one last thing before we go on to the next step. I wanted to go ahead and notch out just the smallest little hole here. That way I can run my cord down, and when I sit this, the bottom of it will sit flush on the ground, and the cord will be released from this little hole here. All right, so now I got a relief from my cord. All right, now we're getting to the fun part. So cracked open my can, shook it up really well. And for this, the idea is I'm gonna put a rim around the top, and then I'll start adding my drips down the side. Now, I'm gonna be mindful to make sure that I have the drips over the screws. I definitely don't want the screws to be visible, so I'm gonna go down this way, but again, never use this stuff, so let's see how it goes. I heard it's really messy though, so I put a paper down just to cover any of the drips, so we'll see. You know, to make one thing clear, when you're doing any kind of proper project work, things don't always work out, but you have to try in order to see, you know, because if this doesn't work out, that's okay. You found a way not to do something. But this stuff I heard is really versatile. I definitely wanted to try it out, and this is a perfect project to start with. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a layer. If it hardens up a little bit, maybe I'll do another layer to create a couple that go around the top of the rim, because if there's any kind of translucency in the foam itself, when that light hits it, it's gonna glow and look more like a real candle. So that's the idea. Now, once this stuff actually cures, I am gonna go back and carve it up, make it look more like drips. But again, trial and error. So I made a couple of these just to see, and we'll see how it goes. But just from the first go of it, I think it's really gonna work out well. I also wanted to try this out to see how far one of these cans go. This is already pretty light. It doesn't seem like it's gonna go very far. So if you're doing projects like this, maybe almost a can for one of these candles. All right, so the first go with the great stuff. You can see it looks like a mess right now, but I'll be able to shape this, I think, once it's all done. Also, too, I put a little bit of foam just inside of there, just to hold the flame light in place. You guys can see that. I did another one here as well. And as far as the use of it, if you're first starting great stuff like me, think about 2 cans. I mean, just to get the overall look, but again, once we have these all done, I think they're gonna look great. Once we get them painted and with the decor, look perfect. But I'm gonna let these dry overnight, and then tomorrow we'll come back and get to the shaping of the actual wax. Okay, so to do the next step, I was originally gonna carve this foam up to make it look more like drips, but looking at it now, I actually like the look. It looks like a really messy old candle. So what I'm gonna do next is take my spray gun and just give it a nice coat of like an off-white color. And then I'll add a little bit of festive decor at the end here. Let's go ahead and give this a base coat. Now, also, just to let you know, if you are spraying this on or even painting it, this cardboard is gonna soak up a lot of this paint, so you're probably gonna have to do a few coats just to get this all that nice base coat of white. I mixed up a little bit of a yellow color in my spray gun here. Try not to speak when I'm spraying because you guys can't hear me all that well, but I'm just gonna give it a little bit of depth here, and then we'll finish it off with the ribbon and stuff like that. I think this is just gonna add a little more character to the candles. So when you see them during the day, they still look nice, and it's not just a night prop. Now again, this step isn't necessary, but for me, I wanna just add a little bit more to it. Our candles are pretty much done, and you can leave it at this stage if you want, but I'm gonna take this ribbon and I'm gonna follow this pattern because it has like a swirl design in this cardboard anyway. So I'm just gonna kind of follow that pattern with the ribbon here, and I'm gonna go right up to the edge of this. And then what I'll do is I'll put a couple beads of hot glue, just like this, right along this edge, and I'll place my ribbon right to the edge of this and then kind of push it into place. Then I'll follow this little area here just to set it in place. And once this glues up, I'll go ahead and trim it right along that waxy area. But hopefully I can cut this right along. Now you want to make sure this is all the way dry before you do this, but just to follow this pattern, what I'm gonna do is continue the ribbon on the other side so it looks more or less like this wax was dripping over the ribbon here. Okay, so what I did here is took some cardstock paper and I put the candle on top of it, and then I traced around it. What I'm gonna do is cut it out, and then I'm gonna put it into the top of the actual candle. I'm gonna show you in a second. Okay, so what I did was cut out my piece of cardstock, and I cut it specifically around the outer edge because I wanted to push this in and have it pretty snug on the top of this candle here. So the reason I did this was just to create a base. So if you're walking up on your props and maybe you're a little close to it, you have a cap on the inside so it doesn't look like it's just a hollow cylinder. And then I'll cut the relief here in the center for the actual flame lights to fit through. And I'll make sure this looks a lot nicer than it does right now, but just to give you the idea of what I was doing. Not everybody's gonna have a flame light. You might have one of these, solar powered flame light that you have for your yard. It creates its own flickering effect. Let me see if I can show you a little bit how that looks. But anyway, I figured if you don't have the flame light, you can take a plastic bottle, and what I'm gonna do is just cut the bottom off here. Just enough to be able to fit this inside. Now to create this, I wanna do a little bit of an artistic way of doing this. So I'm gonna spray the bottle itself, and then I'm just gonna take some scrap cheesecloth. This might be kind of cool as an alternative if you don't have a flame light. And I'm just gonna wrap this cheesecloth around here. Just that alone, sitting on top of the candle, could create a nice little effect. And if I turn this on now, and I put it in here, you'll have a very basic little flame. And I'm gonna spray a little more adhesive here. Once it's all done, I'll show you guys in detail how it looks, but that'll be a perfect little flame for your candle as an alternative. So just to show you the difference in the flame, this is the flame light that we originally used, and you can see it flickering there. So that's how that looks. But if you look at the alternative, if you don't have the flame light and maybe you just have the outdoor solar lights that flicker, this is a great alternative. It actually looks like a candle wick too. So you can definitely use that. It works just as well. A very cool look. You're gonna see the overall results in a second, but there's flame light, and this is the outdoor solar light. Yeah. Thanks for sticking around to the end of our video today. I hope you guys enjoyed our project. Now, this was a really easy and inexpensive build, and you can do this in one weekend. It was so much fun to do. I got to use expanding foam, which I never had before, and it really came out cool. It was definitely the ticket for creating this awesome look on these melted wax candles. If you have any questions about today's build, feel free to write me down in the comment section below. Make sure you hit that notification bell because we're gonna be bringing so many cool props and projects to you this holiday season, and I would hate for you to miss any of them. But until next time, keep building things, stay creative, and don't forget to go wild. I'm Gio from Carvalho Creations, and I'll see you next time.
Christmas Day.
Yes, Christmas time. Christmas. That's intros, baby, right there.